Next man up, 1025, the game. It is a TD Thursday. Jake Lyman joined by ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Turron. Davenport, Parker Kelly on the ones and twos. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. TD, always great having you in. How's it going?
Everything is great, man. Life is good, man. We got our first W. We woke up, so
Yeah,
I'm feeling good, man. Got a little workout in, good shower. Didn't get a good breakfast, but life is good, man. How about you?
is great. No bad days, as you
Hey,
like to say.
bingo.
No bad
It's
days.
it's tatted right on my leg,
There
man.
you go. There you go. And we've got a lot to get to today. Let's start with the press conference yesterday. Got to hear from the coordinators for the first time, Brian Dable, Gus Bradley. And it's funny, I sat down to listen to them when I got back from the show yesterday.
Hmm.
And I wrote down right as Brian Dable started, I wrote, he sounds like a head coach. And
Yes.
then I heard Corey Curtis say that in a question too. I was like, so it's not just me. That was the immediate impression I got from Brian Dable is this dude sounds like a head coach, and I tend to expect the thought that he might be a head coach again sooner rather than later is probably the correct one.
I think so, and it's really going to come down to how well this offense does, which it's a perfect storm for Robert Saleh and everybody. So you're right. He talked about speaking with the general manager. He said we hired a coaching staff. Like, he really did sound 100% like a head coach, and go figure, he's fresh off being one. So
Right.
naturally, that mindset's going to be there.
He was funny too. I mean, the
Yes.
back and forth there with PK a couple of times of you've got your own.com I thought was great.
Yeah.
And then that's a really broad question. Paul goes, you didn't like the narrow one.
Yeah.
So I thought Brian Dable, I mean, very personable. And
Very.
he was a little bit vague on some of the scheme stuff, said that they don't have all of that ironed out yet. Tried not to be too specific about any certain player, but I did like the way he talked about Cam Ward and the things that he believes that he can do and what he can get out of them. I thought despite being a little bit, I guess, big picture with most of his thoughts, I thought it was good to hear from Brian Dable about the young quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. It was good to hear. And this is a situation where this guy, he had already done his homework, right? He fell in love with Cam Ward leading
Yep.
up to last year's draft, wanted to trade up to get him. So he's probably refreshed, getting an opportunity to work with a guy that he
Yeah.
really liked. Not to say he didn't like Jackson Dart, because they traded back in the first to get him. But when you look at the different things that he likes to do with a quarterback, I think Cam Ward matches well as far as the RPOs, et cetera. We'll see how the running thing is. But he definitely liked. I thought it was also interesting where he singled out JC Latham. He was like,
Yeah.
and JC Latham, I like Latham.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It was interesting with that one.
Yeah, I heard that too. He said JC is a great piece on the right side of the line, which is interesting because you would think if he's going to point somebody out on the offensive line, it might be Peter Skoronski. But he pointed out JC Latham specifically and said that he likes what JC can do. Right off the bat, he did say, asked what made the Titans a good fit for you. And he went right to Cam Ward. And not that, like you said, it's not something that we didn't know. The Giants tried to trade up for Cam Ward, but the fact that he immediately goes to, I believe in this quarterback, and the relationship that we built through the pre-draft process last year was good enough to get him here. I think that speaks volumes about how Cam Ward is viewed by football people in the league,
Absolutely.
especially Brian Dable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that can be applied to multiple candidates that considered coming here. Because look at
Yeah.
John Harbaugh. He went back, he watched film of Cam Ward, and John Harbaugh considered coaching the Tennessee Titans. I think that's significant. So you're right. And it's just a statement to how this young quarterback, who some view as not exactly a future franchise, I think he is a future franchise. And it seems like a lot of these coaches do too.
Right. That's been the impression I've gotten from most of the people in the league is that, hey, they like Cam Ward.
Mm-hmm.
It maybe from the outside looking in, you don't see some of the things that other people see, but I really liked what we heard from Brian Dable yesterday. Gus Bradley as well. Gus Bradley, I think you care a little bit less about his role just because he's not calling plays, right? Like he's not quite as involved as Brian Dable is going to be. But I did like hearing from him. Similarly, had a very head coach vibe to him,
Mm-hmm.
previously a head coach. And I thought he was very candid about a lot of stuff. Again, wasn't going to go very deep on scheme and all that kind of stuff, but I thought it was good to hear from Gus Bradley, specifically on what his role is going to look like with Robert Saleh being the defensive play caller.
Yeah, you got to see a little bit inside how it's going to work, right? And I think one of the things that he said that stood out was when you talk about egos and not having an ego. And he talked about how they're pretty well aligned as far as their thought process, what they want in the defense. I'm really curious as I asked him about the cover 3 look that they've always used.
Yeah.
I'm curious how that's going to continue to evolve as you see offenses figure out ways to attack that and just attack just defenses overall. Saleh, the big thing is about getting pressure up front, right, with the front 4. And Gus Bradley talked about that. I love how he distinguished between the defensive end and edge. I thought that was a really good one as well.
And one thing that I think stood out just overarching between both Daboll and Bradley, they were both very, and obviously they're not going to put Robert Saleh down, but they were very complimentary of Robert Saleh and what they believe he can do in his second opportunity. Mm-hmm. There was a belief in Robert Saleh specifically that led them to join his staff. We know Gus Bradley had other options out there to be a play calling defensive coordinator. He said the relationship with Robert Saleh was really important in bringing him here. I think that's a great vote of confidence in your new head coach, that people see the vision that he's trying to accomplish, and they believe in it enough to come here over other opportunities.
Yeah, they want to be a part of it. That's the thing. And, when you look at Gus Bradley, everyone knows he could call plays, right?
Yeah.
So, to me, he doesn't really have anything to prove, right? I think this is a perfect storm for him as well, because you're coming to a place that is desperately in need of an uplift. He's a very, as you saw, very, upbeat. What do you say, 85 and 15?
Yeah,
that's how he approaches it. He's or 85 and sunny, whatever it was. He's a very positive guy.
Yeah,
and I think this organization, it needs that. It needs that fair but firm and upbeat mindset, and I think that's what all these guys are going to bring. Daboll did admit that he could get angry,
Yeah,
and we know that he has his blow.
We've seen it
looking like a cartoon, but still, I think the balance there with Bradley is really good.
And I really like the experience here. Nick Holson, Denard Wilson were good when they spoke to the media, and I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but you could just feel that this is a group that knows what they're doing. They're ready to hit the ground running. Brian Daboll was able to kind of map out what their days have looked like since he arrived, which I thought was really interesting. Hey, we're spending the mornings and we're going through scheme, trying to work on installs and get that ready for when the players do come back in the spring. And then the second half of the day has been spent on free agents. And he said that we've been spending a lot of time in the building for it being the offseason, trying to give the scouts, give the front office a map of what they want on the offensive side of the ball. So I think the experience part of this with Daboll, Bradley, and Saleh all having been head coaches before really is a good dynamic that allows all of them to come in and play their role well.
Exactly. And to me, the good thing among others about this is there's positive in failure. Right?
Yeah.
If you apply it maturely.
Yes.
Right. And so you have Gus Bradley. He failed as a head coach over the duration. Right. Initially Jacksonville, but then it was what it was.
Right.
Brian Daboll, we know what happened last year. So these are guys who went through failure. They seem like they're mature. I would imagine they've learned from the failure. And I would think these are lessons that they could probably mix with Robert Saleh's failure.
Right.
And get some positive out of that. That's the way I look at it. And I think having a cabinet like that, so to speak, right, of two former head coaches and a guy that's been in the league forever in John Fossil, that knows exactly how to push everybody's button. It's a good mix for him.
Right. You can look at, and we talked about the head coach winning percentage among those guys is not very good.
Right.
But only one of those guys has to be the head coach, first of all. And second of all, you're right. failure can be helpful if you apply the lessons that you learn the right way. And you're hoping that Robert Saleh specifically can do that from his time in New York. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call if you have any thoughts. Our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. As always, at 10 a.m., we will specifically get to your questions in Talk to TD. So get those in on our text line. And I did promise, TD, we'd get a Vanderbilt women's basketball guest today. It is Jacqueline Mwenentanda. She's returning for her second time.
Jacqueline Mwenentanda.
Yeah, try saying that 5 times fast.
We're gonna get you getting the pronunciation right. She's gonna join us at 11:45 at the end of the show. So excited for that as well.
Ooh, she could come on to Dreams and Nightmares.
Yes, she can. I guess so. Ooh. Yeah. We're going to throw it all together there. So Jacqueline going to join us at the very end of the show, but lots of Titans talk today. We will dive deeper into what Brian Daboll and Gus Bradley had to say coming up next, specifically on Cam Ward. We'll do that coming up after this. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on your Thursday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport with you on this Thursday. Good start here. Yeah. TD's dancing in the studio.
That's that new addition, man. Next month, me and my baby, we going to see them right at Bridgestone. This right here can, if it isn't love, I remember we used to do this dance, man, when brothers and I, you know, we singing into the hairbrush dance.
I love it.
Yeah, this
in the mirror.
Can You Stand the Rain? Oh man, Can You Stand? I had Johnny Gill's part. Can You Stand the Rain?
We might have to get you to do that on the stream.
Hey,
go do the full choreography.
Nah.
Brian Daboll and Gus Bradley spoke to the media yesterday for the first time, and we got to hear specifically from Brian Daboll about Cam Ward and what exactly he wants to see from him. And TD, I thought you asked a good question, because when you talk about Brian Daboll and his development of young quarterback, Josh Allen always is the name that pops up. When he was asked about Josh Allen, this is what Brian Daboll had to say, talking about how he can use some of the experiences that he had working with Allen as a young quarterback and apply that to Cam Ward.
Yeah, I think every situation is unique. Again, we've had some young quarterbacks previously with obviously Josh and Jackson at New York, but everybody's different. I don't want to just put him into a particular box. I think the most important thing is to first develop the relationship with the young man and then get a feel for how he's seeing the game. That's hard to do right now when you're not, able to sit down and talk a lot of football. So I always like to see the game through the quarterback's eyes. And again, there's going to be mistakes out there that I think he's made on tape previous, and he might have a completely different answer. So that communication is really important. I learned that dealing with Josh, dealing with Jackson, but been around some veteran quarterbacks. It's a hard position to play. It's easy to sit back there and say, what the hell did you do that for? But until I can get that, communication with him and go through these plays with a fine-tooth comb, iron out the details of it, we're a little bit of ways from that.
So that was Brian Daboll talking about Cam Ward, and didn't want to specifically compare him to Josh Allen. Again, Daboll was a little bit vague, and a lot of his descriptions said that they weren't quite there on scheme, and he hadn't developed that relationship with Cam Ward yet. I guess they said that they've talked. He's been around the building doing rehab, but haven't quite done a deep dive on Cam Ward and what he did in year one. But I thought an interesting point was made there about young quarterbacks, and it's easy to just watch on film and say, man, what was he thinking there? But until you can understand the way that the young quarterback's mind works, it's hard to completely blame them for every single decision that they make.
Right. And here's the thing. It's not so much the blame game that you got to play. You got to play the why game, because if you don't understand why that happened, it's going to happen again. Right. Because you can't help him and guide him to a different consequence, a different result, if you don't know what led to the initial one. So I thought that was very mature of him. I really love the fact that he said, seeing the game through the eye of the quarterback, he wants to understand how he sees things and not jump to the conclusion. Let's go through it, fine-tooth comb, iron out the details, and understand, hey, next time when this happens, this is what you have to do.
Right.
And it's a key learning moment, when you go through, and it goes back to what we said last segment about the failure and learning from that and having a positive come out of it.
Daboll also was asked about specifically the mechanics of Cam Ward, because there are some unique things that Cam Ward does that aren't exactly central casting at quarterback. Sometimes the footwork's a little bit off. The arm angles are a little bit different than what you see. But Brian Daboll did say he felt comfortable with what he's seen from Cam Ward mechanically. I'm sure that they're going to work on fixing a few things, tweaking a few things, but he did seem like that wasn't a huge issue for him as he came in to work with Cam.
Right. And I kind of hindsight 2020, I wish I would have saved that. It's not a follow-up, like lead out of the one question into another. I wish I'd have asked it separately.
Yeah.
Because he answered it in a way in which it was like, all right, like I just answered the first question. I mean, I'm going to answer this, but then move on. But to your point, he did say he was comfortable with it. And that made me raise my eyebrow, because remember the last staff, and I even said, hey, look, man, the last staff, they continuously worked to change it, specifically the footwork, and he's comfortable. That's a good thing for Cam, because now it's one less thing. Now, granted, you want to make sure the base is right.
They're going to tweak some things.
Right. But it's it doesn't seem like there's as much of an emphasis on it with this group. But again, it's early. We haven't talked to Shea Tierney. We don't know,
right?
Any of the rest of the coaches, like what they want to do.
It was interesting though, because in Robert Saleh's introductory press conference, they asked about Cam, and they said we're going to start over, basically, like we're going to build him up from scratch. And the way Brian Daboll kind of said it, and I understand he's not going to say in the press conference publicly, like, yeah, Cam's footwork sucks, we've got to fix that. But it didn't seem like that was some big concern, even though Robert Saleh said they're going to build him up from scratch. Maybe Saleh meant that more from a mental aspect of learning this new scheme rather than the physical things that Cam Ward does.
Yeah, who knows where he was going with that, honestly. But yeah, to your point, it doesn't seem like it's going to be as big of an issue.
Getting away from Cam Ward here, Brian Daboll also talked about the offensive line. We mentioned that J.C. Latham, he pointed him out and said, that's a guy that I feel like is a good piece for this offense. But he did say that everything they do is going to start with the offensive line, have to be smart and tough, also more disciplined. He did say that the penalties are an issue, and he needs that cleaned up heading into this year.
I mean, that's both of your tackles, man. They were penalized frequently. It started to clean up towards the end of the year, but I mean, look, like it was a huge issue, right? And a lot of times that's how they ended up in those behind the chains, those 2nd and 15s that led to a 3rd and 12, you know what I mean? And it's just something that they have to avoid. And as an offensive play caller, like, you hate that,
right?
You got to take, all right, this section gone, I got a call from, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it really restricts you as far as what you could call.
Yes, it narrows your play sheet. And I can't tell you how many times this year 3rd and 2 turned into 3rd and 7. It was way too often. So I thought that was an obvious statement from Brian Daboll, but one that clearly he has focused in on. One small thing with Brian Daboll, and I wrote this down specifically, he can say the word nucleus, which has been an issue for both Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh. It was like a little pet peeve of mine. They kept saying we have a good young nucleus of players, and I was like nucleus, and Brian Daboll said it correctly yesterday, so I wrote that down on the sheet because I was like, that's actually funny that he was able to put that out there. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dustin from Hopkinsville is called in. Dustin, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I haven't been attached to the Titans here lately. I've been working my butt off, but what little I have heard from this new coaching staff, my goodness, what a breath of fresh air. Just breathe it in, embrace it, and this team's going to kick some people's asses. We might not win a whole lot of games this first season, but we're going to see some bloody noses, and it's so refreshing, this automatically when they talk, this no bullcrap coaching staff. Like, man, I don't even know what you call it. You might as well have Baskin Robbins and soft ice cream running the last regime here, man. They weren't tough at all, man. And it showed. They're going to whip this team into shape. If you don't get disciplined, there's a door that you can take, and I don't care if it hits you on the way out or not. You break it, you pay for it. We'll find you. That's what we got now. But yeah, I love this new regime. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Dustin. I think that is a good point. That everybody, Robert Saleh, Gus Bradley, Brian Daboll, fast and violent. They kept repeating those words, and I think that's what this team needs. They need to be able to go out there, play fast, play free, but there does need to be more physicality for this team moving forward, and I think you'll see that.
Yeah. Dustin, he woke up this morning. He chose violence.
Yes, he did.
That's funny. But, yeah, I mean, look, he's showing my bloody noses and stuff. But, yeah, look, that's the way you want to play football. The thing that I love is he talked about feeling the energy through your screen. I think that was pretty cool. And you want to play fast and violent, but you want to play smart too and disciplined. And so we'll see how they can mix all these things together. One thing I was told with Robert Saleh was you're going to hear a lot of sayings. You're going to hear a lot of, different things like that. But you just got to see how consistent it's going to be. You know what I mean? And you could come in here now and be hyped up and full of vinegar and you know what, like they say. But how is that going to for the long haul?
Right.
You know what I mean? This is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yep.
So don't get off running a 10-200 when you got the 400-meter dash to run overall.
Yeah, the all gas, no brakes is the Robert Saleh saying. And it was funny. I was reading through Justin Mello, who is now at Sports Illustrated. He put out his top 100 today, and I was just scrolling through it this morning. And number 7 was David Bailey, and the first words in his little write-up was all gas, no brakes. I wonder if that was a coincidence or maybe a little hint that that's somebody he feels would be a good fit for the Titans. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Again, your chance to talk to TD coming up in about 30 minutes, so get your questions in. Doesn't have to be Titans related, can be anything. You can text those questions, call in, all of that coming up at 10. Coming up next, we'll talk more Gus Bradley. He had some comments specifically on the defensive line that I want to get to. Tavondre Sweat, you mentioned the edge versus end look that he talked about. We'll get into all of that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game.
I think, to be honest with you right now, I mean, we're talking about staff. We're going through scheme. We're, giving the scouts a good idea what each position looks like. Had conversations. We're really excited about all the guys. And that's just, I've always believed that when you come into a new situation, the previous staff has done a good job. There's obviously some good things that have taken place with them. Our job is to continue to add to what they've already built and take it to another level. And also, I think that's very important as coaching staff. We give the players a fresh start. I think in the years I've done it, when a new staff comes in, that's what they're hoping for. Man, I just hope I have a fresh start, that you don't talk to everybody in the building, get all these notions of who I am and what I'm all about, and then you base your opinion off of that rather than just meet me, watch me play, and then make judgment. And so I'm really trying to stay in that world. I think Robert is too, to try to protect that part of it, to say, let's get to know them. We're excited about everybody in the building, and let's give them that fresh start. And let's see what takes place.
That was Gus Bradley yesterday. He was asked specifically about T'Vondre Sweat. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly. TD feeling good on the first two from Parker today.
We got that print. We were singing that. That was playing in the hallway.
Oh.
We were singing that in the coffee room over there, man.
Good job, Parker, there. Making an adjustment on the fly.
Mm-hmm. East, if you're listening, Prince is the greatest. My lady and I, we had a conversation the other day, and she told me Prince isn't even in Michael Jackson's stratosphere. And I said, everything was going good until this point. I really thought you were the one.
I like Prince. It's funny. I spent 2 summers up in Minnesota, where he's from, and went to a Twins game on one of our off nights, and it was Prince night. So everybody got like these purple Prince T-shirts as they walked in. So that's my biggest experience with Prince.
They said he used to perform random concerts and stuff around the city.
I've heard people say that he is one of the greatest guitarists of all time.
Yeah, him, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, I think you put them on. But yeah, man, I just couldn't believe when she said that. I feel like, it's like Prince or Michael, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're in the same stratosphere, in my opinion. But, whatever.
That's like with you with music, that's kind of me with movies, is sometimes I'll mention a movie to my fiance and she'll be like, oh, I've never seen that. And I just, it hurts me. Like, how have you not seen this movie?
We go through that all the time.
Back to that clip there from Gus Bradley talking about T'Vondre Sweat. And it's a good question because that has been a topic around town since Robert Saleh was hired. Of Saleh's scheme doesn't typically have that big run stuffing nose tackle in it. That's usually not a part of what he runs. But you see more and more coaches are fitting their schemes to their players. And I thought that was a good answer from Gus Bradley. Said a lot without saying much of, hey, we're not going to completely write a player off just because on paper he may not be a fit. We're going to get to know him. We're going to see what we can do with him, and then we'll see how we can work him into our defense.
Yeah, and I think when you take that approach of clean slating it and just, all right, let me see exactly what this guy brings to the table. How can we fit him in? I know we typically don't use a guy like this, but hey, we got a guy like this.
Yeah.
And he was invested a 38 overall pick. So you find a way. And if it doesn't work, okay, no problem. Then you could move on, but at least give it an opportunity to work in your scheme and how you could figure things out to use it.
Bradley talked about the importance of getting home with 4, and you've got the makings of a good defensive line, especially if you use that 4th overall pick on a pass rusher. And you mentioned it earlier, he differentiated between, there's going to be one end that's maybe more hand in the dirt the entire time. The other maybe can be more of that edge stand up, can put their hand in the dirt. Could be interesting to see where they go with that 4th overall pick when you have 3 guys who all are very different in terms of what they bring to the table. Arvell Reese is more of the hybrid, can be an off-ball linebacker, also can come off the edge. David Bailey, maybe your more prototypical pass rusher on the edge. Ruben Bain, kind of that hybrid inside-outside guy. So it'll be interesting to see what they value most if they do end up taking one of those guys at number 4.
Yeah, and the more and more I watch, go back and watch Reese. I was watching him last night, sitting in the bathtub watching. I feel like he would be a Sam in this defense.
Yeah.
And it would almost be – so think back to when the Seahawks had Bruce Irvin.
Gotcha.
Pete Carroll,
Yeah.
And it was like
Bobby Wagner and Bruce Irvin and KJ Wright. That was their trio.
Yeah. And I see the usage. And it's funny that I mentioned Bruce Irvin because Bruce Irvin – David Bailey reminds me of Bruce Irvin as far as the style of play, but as far as like what he was asked to do back in the day in that scheme, I could see that being kind of like what they have Avril Reese do. He spent so much time like off the ball.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see how that works. I think you got Femi Oladejo and you got Jalen Harrell, who I think should be significant parts of the rotation. And then you bring in, and that's – I just keep looking at David Bailey, and I know we started off talking about Reese, but I keep getting back to Bailey. I see him in a role so similar to, you go back to, what was it, 2014, 2013, when Alden Smith was drafted.
Yep.
You had Ahmad Brooks starting on one side. It was a different scheme. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah. Salah wasn't there.
Right. You had Ahmad Brooks on one side. You had Paris Harrelson on the right, rest in peace. Passing downs, he would come out, Alden Smith would come in. That joker had 14 sacks as a rookie.
Yeah.
And he didn't start. You know what I mean? So I think if you could rotate it again, I'm not saying Bailey's going to have 14 sacks. I'm saying in that similar type of role, hey, look, man, come in and kill the quarterback. And that's it. That has value to me.
That 49ers defense back in the early teens, Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis.
Before Bowman hurt himself, man, that dude was ridiculous.
Patrick Willis, him and Luke Kuechly, it's like, man, if they just I get why they retired, but man, they could have been one of the all-time greats if they're not already. Yeah. Carlos Rogers on the outside at corner.
They gave him glasses. All of a sudden, he had like 11 picks. Carlos Rogers. You had Terrell Brown. You had my boy, man. I used to love Deshaun Golson. Oh, my goodness. The wig splitter. He hit early Doucette one time. I thought Doucette was going to die. Matter of fact, I thought he was dead. But you had him, and then you had Dante Whitner.
Yeah,
you can't forget Justin Smith up front, the Cowboy. You know what I mean? They had a squad, man.
That was a great
Franklin
team.
Oh, man. Ricky Jean Francois. I remember he used to do the peanut butter jelly dance. Folks, you want to laugh, look up Ricky Jean Francois peanut butter jelly dance. It's a 330-pound man dancing like a kid, and it's hilarious. So there goes your feel-good opportunity for the day.
I love those 49ers teams because, I grew up a Titans fan, but in the early 2010s, the Titans weren't very good, and my dad was a 49ers fan. So
you know who left the 49ers and came here after having a good year?
Delaney Walker.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Paris Cox.
Right, Paris Cox, yes. He was not very good here.
Nope.
He did have, if I'm remembering correctly, he had the pick six on Jameis Winston's first drive of his career in that game between Mariota and Winston in their first games ever.
Really?
1 versus 2. I think it was Parrish Cox who had the pick six. I'll look that up during the break.
Nice.
You brought up Arvell Reese, and I've been meaning to ask you for weeks about one player that we have not talked about at all, but he's getting top 10 buzz. I saw somebody mock him to the Titans this week. Sonny Styles, linebacker at Ohio State. I haven't talked about him at all. What are your thoughts? He's more of an off-the-ball guy, so maybe the positional value isn't there. But people are really high on him, as they are most of that Ohio State defense.
They should be. That dude does not miss. I don't think he had a missed tackle this year. Honestly, I had to double-check, but I'm almost certain the number of missed tackles matches the numbers on his jersey, which is 0. So you got that. But then you look. He could blitz. He's a classic run and hit linebacker too. I wouldn't. It's a luxury pick, for the Titans. But a team that has a lot of other things in order, like the Ravens, he would be beautiful on the Ravens and just carry on that legacy of outstanding linebackers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Imagine him and Roquan Smith together on the field. You saw it when they had Patrick Queen and those guys were working together. So, yeah, I mean, Sonny Styles he's a force to be reckoned with and just a complete linebacker.
Yeah, it seems like you can kind of put him in that tier with Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Love of they might be the best players in the draft, but it's like, are they worth a top 5 pick? That becomes the question. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Again, in just over 15 minutes, your chance to talk to TD. We've already got questions rolling in on the text line. We will get to those at the top of the hour. You can get your questions in at 615-737-1025. We'll wrap up the conversation about Daboll and Bradley's press conferences when we come back. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
Yeah, I would say that one, I appreciate the question, T. I'm not going to answer roster questions, but I do know Rid, have a relationship with Rid. He was great for me at Alabama. He's had a productive, career in the National Football League, and look forward to working with him.
That was Brian Daboll yesterday. TD asked the question about, you've worked with Calvin Ridley in the past. Would you want to work with him in the future? Obviously, Calvin Ridley's spot on this roster is up in the air at this point. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on this Thursday. It is funny, though, like, Calvin Ridley is on the roster right now. Like, technically, it's not a roster question to ask about Calvin Ridley. But I still feel like it's a coin flip whether he's back next year. But maybe Brian Daboll and the relationship that he has with Calvin Ridley could push that in a direction where Ridley stays.
Yeah, and, when I asked the question, I framed it in a way. I said, I know you're not in control of roster decisions, but you had him before. How much would you like to? And him being the head coach mind that he is, he answered it that way. But it is amazing to think, like, it's just a foregone conclusion by many that Ridley's not going to be here.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily know that has to be the case. And like I wrote in a story that posted last week, or it might be posted, I don't know. A lot of stuff is happening.
Yeah.
Now. But there's something in my work that's in recent. They could very well sign Wan'Dale Robinson and still have Ridley on the roster, and then get rid of Ridley next year. You know what I mean? If that's something that they wanted to do, because they got plenty of money and the cap is going up even more.
Right.
And there aren't any real premier free agents that there's not going to be a whole lot of money that they spend.
Yeah.
They could sign a Robinson and sign a couple DBs, et cetera, and keep him on the roster, him meaning Ridley. And look, let's face the facts. When Ridley's healthy, he's a legitimate threat. Does he drop a lot of footballs? Oh, yeah, he does. But, I mean, he's not a perfect receiver, but he's a good enough one to where Cam loves him, and he could help Cam. He may not help his dad's stomach, given how, he dropped the ball in Denver, and his dad got up like he had the worst stomach ache ever. But, I mean, all jokes aside, I think Ridley could be a contributor.
Yeah, I look at it and I say I would understand if he's gone. He's $28 million against the cap this year. Excuse me, $27 million against the cap this year, which it's a lot of money. I know you have a ton of cap space. I would get it if the Titans cut him, but I do get what you're saying too, is having Calvin Ridley does not stop you from going out and signing another wide receiver.
Exactly.
And I continue to just look at this class of wide receivers in free agency, and I say, are those guys for sure better than Calvin Ridley? For the price you're going to have to pay, you got to eat $13 million in dead cap if you cut Calvin Ridley. So Ridley can stay on your team for $27 million. Let's say you go sign Juwan Jennings for $18 million, add the $13 million dead cap. Would you rather have Calvin Ridley for $27 million total against the cap, or Juwan Jennings for $31 million total against the cap? I think I'd take Calvin Ridley.
Exactly. And I think that's the right way to look at it. Big picture thinking. It's not just, you're not saving $13 million, because you have to turn around and sign another receiver.
Yes.
If you get rid of him.
You're creating a hole. If you don't have someone you feel like is an upgrade, I don't see the reason to cut Calvin Ridley. Now, if they look out there and they feel good about signing Alec Pierce, and they say, you know what, we're going to use that $14 million in cap savings and we're going to go get Alec Pierce, I could understand that. I'm not 100% in on Alec Pierce. Like, he's a great deep threat, but he's not a number one. And you'd be paying a number one price to go get him. But I would understand that if they say, Calvin Ridley, he's injury prone, he drops the ball too much, we're going to go use that money elsewhere to get a wide receiver. Yeah. But it's the same situation as Tony Pollard of, like, if you feel like there's an upgrade out there, I understand it, but you also don't have to create a hole just to create one.
Right. And that's the whole thing. What's the saying? You only hit rock bottom when you stop digging. Well, if you release Ridley, you're digging a little bit further when it comes to the hole that the receiver room has. So to me, I probably wouldn't do that. I would supplement the position. Yeah. A Wan'Dale Robinson, a Calvin Austin III. If you sign Pierce, okay, that's cool. It's going to be more expensive than the others, but I think a signing like that, get a slot and then draft, I think you're in good shape that way. So I just want to see what they do. I think you look at Ridley again. He's still a capable receiver.
Yeah.
And he's shown that he could play in this scheme before.
If he can stay healthy, I don't think Calvin Ridley is a horrible option to be out there as a veteran receiver. I don't know if he's ever going to be a number one again, but I think he can be a capable number two for at least one more season.
Right. And the thing is with that, it goes back to something else. You need somebody to show these young receivers the way. Chimere DK, Alec Iamananer, they spoke so many times. That's actually how I developed a little bit of a relationship with them, is talking to them about Ridley,
right?
And just how he impacted them. So you have that as a benefit on the roster. You're going to draft a receiver, so why not have somebody that could show these young receivers the way he showed the last group?
Yeah, it's a good point. If you go out and sign one of these younger free agents like a Romeo Doubs, Wan'Dale Robinson, Alec Pierce, and draft a wide receiver, the oldest receiver in your room would be what? Mason Kinsey? Like that's the most senior wide receiver you've got on your roster is Mason Kinsey. And then Bryce Oliver would probably be next, right? Or whoever the free agent would be up there too.
Yeah,
but
and he's a E restricted free agent.
Right. They'd have to bring him back, but I would guess that they would, considering you hoped you would get a better look at him this past year, and he was injured for most of the season. So we will see on that. But the Calvin Ridley discussion is very interesting, and I would guess we get some clarity in the next week or so on some of these cuts. L'Jarius Sneed is the one that you are fully expecting.
Yeah.
He's going to be gone, but we talked about it last week that it's not just Ridley and Pollard. You could see Cody Barton. You could see Xavier Woods. Like there are other options out there. The Dolphins started their cap casualties this week. I would guess the Titans will probably be sometime before the end of next week because free agency is coming up quickly.
Yeah, and among those Dolphins cap casualties, the Honda Accord is back on the lot.
Yes, he is. I think you stay away from the Honda Accord this year.
Yeah, you stay. You don't bring it in. And I mean, you got to figure out what to do with the Chevy Corsica too, and Tony Pollard.
Right,
A free agent running back that I think they should really look at is Brian Robinson.
Yeah,
they need to look at him.
And
if they want to get rid of
Pollard,
they could bring him in. I already got the walk-in music when he comes into the stadium. If they sign him, I'm always going to play 50 Cent, Many Men.
I was about to say, I was at that game when he came back.
Oh, what was the energy like? I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that.
Were you there in Washington when that happened?
No, I'm just asking like what the energy was like.
Well, I mean, I didn't even notice it when it happened, but all of my friends who are Commanders fans, they texted me and were like, did you see Brian Robinson come back into the stadium to Many Men after getting shot? Like
that was the hard. That was probably the hardest thing, man. Yo,
that was a crazy game too. Mm-hmm. That was week 5, 2022, somewhere in there, where Dontrell Hilliard scored the go-ahead touchdown, I want to say, and Carson Wentz got it down to like the 2-yard line. And I had Commanders fans in the stands yelling at me and saying, now that's Carson Wentz right there. And he went down the field and he's going to win the game. And then David Long picked him off at the 1-yard line.
I remember that game because they were the play before that. Tierre Tart and Jeffrey Simmons dropped back into coverage.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm like, Terrell Williams and Shane Bowen are in their bag.
Yeah,
today.
That was a fun game. That was part of the 7-3 to 7-10 year back in 2022. But that was a fun one.
You know what? Yeah, I don't remember the music playing when it came.
That's what I don't remember being in the stadium. I don't remember it, but obviously I've seen the video with the camera behind him coming out, and that was tough. That was crazy. Speaking of older games, I did check. It wasn't Parrish Cox who got that interception on Jameis Winston. It was Cody Sensabaugh, but Parrish Cox was on that team. Old 1 or 2 year Titans cornerbacks, Cody Sensabaugh and Parrish Cox. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call. It is now your chance to talk to TD. Get your questions in. Again, can be anything. Doesn't have to be Titans related, but most of them will be. We've got some good questions already on the text line. If you have a question for TD, 615-737-1025. Text or call on our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 1 hour in the books on this TD TD Thursday. We'll do Talk to TD coming up next, plus much more Titans talk. Jack Alenga from Vandy Women's Basketball joins us at the end of the show. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Second hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. It is a TD Thursday. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker, Kelly with you, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. It is 10 a.m. on a Thursday, which means it is your chance to talk to TD. Get your questions in, 615-737-1025. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We start by going to the text line. Got lots of good questions on here. Let's start with Santa in Portland. TD, he asks, is there anyone on the new coaching staff that worries you? Anyone that you might seem unproven, I guess is the word that he puts in there.
I would say Shea Tierney.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know much about him. Apparently, he's the guy that's been kind of earmarked to be the next in line if Dabo leaves. So the question that I would have would be like, what puts him in that place?
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
So that's more or less, it's not necessarily a doubt as much as it's okay, tell me why. I want to understand why.
Dable also brought up Luke Stalker yesterday in his press
Stalker's
conference.
coach,
I wonder if maybe he is one of those guys on the fast track to being an offensive coordinator at some point.
He brought up Randy Jordan too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did. He said, I told Randy Jordan, I would say, I took this job specifically because of Randy Jordan.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you're good.
Joey from Bellevue asks, and I really like this question. TD, how do you compare Arvell Reese, Reuben Bain, and David Bailey to Abdul Carter as prospects?
I honestly think Reese is more similar to Abdul Carter. They both had that same like stout, like everything. I don't think there's a hole in either of their games.
Yeah.
They're both very athletic, sudden, good with their hands, very aware. And they have the most experience playing off ball. So I would say Reese easily. I don't think Bain and Carter are any alike. I don't think Bailey is either.
Yeah.
Bain, to me, I think in terms of current players, I think Brandon Graham. I've seen Melvin Ingram comp, which was Emory Hunt from Football Game Plan.
We said Terrell Suggs.
Terrell Suggs also. And the Suggs one is interesting because their measurables are very similar. But, yeah, Bailey, I see Bruce Irvin 1,000%.
If Abdul Carter was coming out in this draft, how would you rank him among those three that are in this year's class?
I'd probably put him top.
You think Carter would be above all three?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
he's a force, man.
He didn't have the production that you would want in his rookie season. Like, he didn't get sacks, but he made an impact on the field.
He was pressuring the quarterback, man.
I probably would be with you. I think Carter is probably a tick above those three, but it's not exactly like there's not a wide gap between any of those four, I don't think. Like, they're all good players.
Yeah. I did that little look in the air and shake my head because I had kind of like a flashback. I remember Denard really liked
Abdul Carter.
So now he's getting to work with him. Denard Wilson, that is. So
that is true. I didn't think about that. Tommy on the text line says, TD, am I the only one who thinks we're not that far behind? We had a lot of close games with good teams, including the champs. That or just let games get away in the second half? I guess the question here is, how close do you think the Titans are to contending again?
Contending for a Super Bowl, I would say 2 years, 3 years. Contending for a playoff, I think they could very well contend for a playoff spot next this season. I'm not saying it's likely, but with all the things, all the armory they have in store, I think they could very well add some pieces and contend for the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah.
Not much more than that.
They need to make the right moves personnel-wise this offseason. But you're right, with the cap space that they have, with the draft picks that they have, with some of the young pieces, you can see a world where this team is in the hunt for a playoff spot this year.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say getting to the playoffs is likely, but it's definitely not impossible.
Yeah, you could see them getting to a respectable position. You know what I mean?
3996 asks, Gus Bradley said that that he wants a 1-2 down end and then someone who can line up at DT and the other side a straight rusher. Is it fair to say that Femi is the straight rusher and you draft the other guy with Reuben Bain?
I think it's fair to say Femi and Jalen Harrell will give you the rotational pieces that you need. You just got to draft the front end guy now, and I think that could be Bain, that could be Bailey, that could be multiple players. Bain, Bailey, Reese. It could be, they trade back and they cash us out. It could be, a lot of guys. They could do a lot of different things with it. But long story short, I think Femi does give them one of the pieces that they want.
I think Femi is a guy that you have hopes is going to take that step. Again, they drafted him off the raw talent and traits. He hadn't played on the outside very much, but they looked at the body type, the skills that he had, and said, we can develop him into a good pass rusher in this league.
Mm-hmm.
He only played in 6 games. He got hurt in the Raiders game. So he didn't really get much of an opportunity his rookie year. I'm excited to see it. I will say, though, I think the Titans probably do end up drafting a pass rusher at 4. That's going to be one of your starters. I think they do have to go out there and find somebody who can at the very least start the season for you on the edge. And then you hope that eventually Femi is good enough to displace him by the end of the season.
Yeah, and that's really what you want to see. And again, I mean, you have a rotation. I mean, you look at the good teams; they've had rotations of guys that they could to get in there to go after the passer. I mean, look at the Seahawks. That interior D tackle rotation is ridiculous. With Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams and all of those guys. And you look at the Eagles, and they had Jordan Davis and Carter and
right.
Brandon Graham, and I mean, so many guys.
Fletcher Cox.
Fletcher. Fletcher in 2017.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And that's one thing. And I hate to go off on
all good
sidebar. Fletch is one of the best D tackles I've seen, man. He's one of the first ones I remember tracking down receivers down the field. I'll never forget. It was like week 7 against the Steelers, 2016. And Antonio Brown caught a screen on the right-hand side. And he's running down the field. Fletch went and got him like 10, 15 yards down the field. And I couldn't believe it. I've seen Jeffrey Simmons.
Jeffrey Simmons has done that a couple times,
Terry McLaughlin. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's a random note, but I've always admired Fletcher Cox and his game, man.
Fletcher Cox, definitely one of the more underrated defensive tackles of the last 15 years. I think you can look in there. Some of those guys do fall through the cracks, right? Like you look and say, that's a really good player. Doesn't get the flowers he deserves. Grady Jarrett on the Falcons is another guy who probably deserved more love. Gerald McCoy on the Bucks. I know that he's worked his way into the media. He's on NFL Network now, so he's a little more visible, but he was dominant for a couple of years there on bad teams. Yeah. So I think that's kind of the life of a defensive tackle. If you're really good on a bad team, and Jeffrey Simmons has lived that the last couple of years, you maybe don't get the love that you quite deserve. Ryan in Florida has texted in. He asks, if you were GM, TD, would you trade Will Levis to the Giants for Jameis Winston in a 7th-round pick?
Well, I believe Jameis is going to be a free agent.
I think he was a 2-year deal.
Oh, yeah?
I'm not 100% sure, but
I wouldn't. Levis, you get Jameis in what?
7th.
I think you could get more than that by way of trading him to the Rams. It was a 2-year contract.
Yes, it's 1 year, $5 million this year.
Yeah, well, they could save a bunch of.
I don't think anything is guaranteed. $2.5 million in dead cap. They'd save half the money if they cut him. So, I guess it just depends on, does John Harbaugh want Jameis Winston to be backing up Jackson Dart?
Yeah,
which is an interesting question.
I don't know. Hopefully, that is something that could happen. I would love to see Jameis.
I know you would love Jameis here,
but yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I wouldn't trade Levis for that if they bumped it up to like a 5th. I would do that.
Yeah,
for sure. But I definitely I would be on the phone with the Rams. And then you got to see how this quarterback shuffle falls out. What I mean? There's an abundance of teams that need quarterbacks. There's not a whole bunch of options in the draft, so
it's going to be interesting, and we'll have a conversation about some of those quarterback chairs coming up later on in this hour. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Again, it's your chance to talk to TD. 615-737-1025. Text or call with questions for Turron. We've got more on the text line. We will get to them coming up next. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly. What do we think on this one, TD?
So sweet. Whenever I'm with you.
You could the smile on TD's face when he starts to hear the music coming back always is great. Parker's played a good one.
This is our little young kid talking about I need love. What I know about needing love, but I sure used to sing this song. I ain't gonna hold you on that. This was I would say 85, 86 LL. This was on the album I'm Bad, which was that LL album cassette tape. that cassette tape. This was before the cassette tapes were clear, right? And I remember seeing the first clear cassette tape and going crazy, but this one was like a matted white color. I remember the like no one, if you're under 40, like you don't know the excitement that you get from going to the record store. You pull the cassette out. It got the big case on it because too many people were pocketing it, and they would take it out of the thing, give it to you. And I just remember, like, you unwrap it, you open it up, you pull the flap out, and you just read all the credits and you see, oh man, it's a great feeling, a great feeling. I used to love buying cassette tapes, man. It's so much, like now, you know, like the J. Cole. I was like, hey man, I want to hear the J. Cole. I just downloaded it.
Right.
J. Cole was at TSU, by the way.
I heard that.
He filmed a video. But
it's funny. He was at Memorial a couple last year, just shooting around in the practice gym at Vanderbilt.
Wow, that's crazy. Everybody loves Nashville, man. But yeah, like that just took me back to a time period where I loved it, man. Just because I love music, right?
Right.
The feeling of knowing you're about to get a new taste of some music, you know, that you don't have to wait until it plays on the radio to listen to. You could just boom, put it in there in your cassette tape.
I gotta say, I'm not so young that I only grew up with digital music. Like I remember as a kid, we'd go to like Target and get CDs. So I was at least that. I was, you know, I can't relate to the cassette tape experience, but I at least understand that like it didn't all used to be at the tap of a finger that you could get any music you want.
Yep.
It is your chance to talk to TD. Back to some questions here. We got people on the phone lines. We got you on the text lines. We will try and get to all of you. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Qued is on the line. Qued, thanks for calling. And what you got for TD?
Yeah, what's up, man? It's Quiz Cantrell, Nashville recording artist. And actually, I'm watching the show, and the shirt that TD has on is my merch. I know that he got it from Sauce over at Press Man Coverage. So I just wanted to actually shout him out for wearing the merch on the show, man. I'm appreciative, and I would love to get you some more merch, man. It's all Nashville-based, 9-based, you know. And I love the show and love what you guys do. So I appreciate you wearing that on the show, man.
Yeah, no doubt, good brother. Definitely DM me. I'll shoot you my number, and we'll get all that taken care of. I'll rep your gear all the time. I'll buy gear, too. I'm not asking you to give it to me for free. I support local business, you know what I mean? Support young, good brothers like yourself doing good things, man.
Man, I appreciate that, man. Much love, bro. I'll shoot you that DM, actually.
All right, for sure. Actually, you know what? You could just get my number from Parker. You get it from my quarterback, my producer. That's my quarterback.
All right, cool, man. Much love. Appreciate
that's awesome. Appreciate you calling in. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I didn't realize you had the merch on there.
I always
you rep a lot of different things on the show. Yeah,
I always do. You know. So
what was it last week? It was like a sports apparel brand. I can't remember what it was.
I don't know.
I'm blanking on it. I'll have to look back through the stream.
Was it McCray?
Week.
Was it McCray?
Yes, that's what it was.
I got it right here. That's my best friend's agency. You know what I mean? McCray.
There you go.
Right here. Yeah, like I'm gonna rep your stuff, man. Like MCD, my guy. By the way, we got a live show. March
I saw
11th.
that.
Yeah, at Chicago Chicken and Waffles. We got local artists, A West and MCD, Tennessee Pimpin'. That's MCD.
Yeah, we've played that on the show a lot.
We've played it. That's right. And that's going to play at the new Nissan Stadium too. It should play at Nissan Stadium this season. That's something else that we're working on. But however, we got a live show that we're going to do talking with TD. I'm working on getting some of the one or two of the Titans there too.
Love it.
Make sure you come out, show your love. 8:00. The kitchen closes at 9, so you know, get in early,
get there quick, get your food.
So you decide to do a live show when I stop producing. Is that what I'm hearing?
We finally sold it. You know
That's
what I mean? I had been working to get it done, and But you could always come, you know.
I'm in.
You said March 11th?
March 11th.
Awesome.
Yeah, Chicago Chicken and Waffles.
Awesome. That'll be great. Let's go back to our phone lines. Josh is called in. Josh, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Josh, what's up,
Doing
man?
Great.
Hey, so quick question. So out of all of the edge rushers being drafted, which one reminds you more of Javon Crooks?
Ooh. Josh, I love the question, but
he was called the freak for a reason.
That's tough. Yeah, that's tough. I can't say any of them remind me of Javon Curse. You know, Javon Curse is a guy that was just completely different. I don't think, you know how they say generational talent, and that word gets tossed around a lot.
Yeah.
That word wasn't tossed around when they put it on Javon Curse.
Right.
Man.
Right. No, that is that is one of those where it's like you can't really find a comparison and say that guy's like Javon Curse. It's like,
but Josh, if you want to know my favorite of all the pass rushers, and this is after going back and watching at least 3 games of each of them, my favorite is Cassius Howell.
Oh, okay.
But David Bailey is just steadily growing on me because you watch this guy, he has the full arsenal. That dude, I know there are some questions about his bend, but I was watching last night and I actually saw him bend pretty well and go and swipe down the quarterback, swipe his legs with one hand. But you watch him, the get off coming outside is ridiculous, right? But then on top of that, he has a bull rush too. Watch the Arizona State game. He was bull rushing the dog mess out of that tackle, that left tackle, and the right one for that matter. But then on top of that, his hands are good. Bain probably has better hands than him.
Yeah.
Reese is more athletic, but Bailey to me is kind of like a combination.
Right.
But then you also look at, he gets that outside rush and spins back inside, and it's ridiculous. And then the fact, I love that he just goes out there. So if you say like Javon Curse, here you go, one thing, like go out there raw dog.
No gloves.
Just raw diggity. You know what I mean? Goes out there that way. And it just, hey, I love it. I think Bailey is a player to watch. Again, he's situational, but you know, nobody compares to Javon Curse though.
Yeah, we've talked about it with those 3 pass rushers. They are so different. And it's like, if you want traits, you go with Reese. If you want production, you go with Bain. It's like, if you want best of both worlds, it might be David Bailey.
Yeah, and Bailey has production himself.
Yeah, Bailey, he led the FBS in sacks.
Yeah,
so
it's
hey. I have been slacking on actually getting back and watching the film on these guys. I'm usually pretty good at it, but with basketball season going on, haven't gotten to it. We got time until April.
You calling games for one of the best teams in the nation. You know what I mean?
I will get to watching actual game film of some of them. I think I've watched a little bit of Bain. I've not gotten to Bailey and Reese yet. Let's see. Back to the text line. Trevor texted in. This is an interesting one. He says, I believe the other day I saw somewhere on Twitter the Ravens may let Tyler Linderbaum hit free agency. Mm-hmm. Would you consider cutting Lloyd Cushenberry to go after a younger center?
I've seen this mentioned, and it is something to consider. I just, my thing is, where is Cushenberry as far as returning from the Achilles? Because throughout the year, talking to him, there were different things where he said, like, it's kind of bothering him, but he's working through it, etc. I'm trying to find the dead. So his cap hit is 12.5. Man, Spokes Track, they got this like quirky setup now where you can't really see the whole screen.
If they cut him, it would be you'd save $3 million.
I don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And then you look at Linderbaum's contract. I probably would just stay put. Corey Levin has to be back as a backup at the very least, but also give you options at both guard spots. So that's the way I look at it. So actually, to answer your question, no, I wouldn't, just because I don't see the reasoning to $3 million you're saving, and then you're going to tack that on to
right.
Yeah, I don't do that. $9 million onto the other.
Yeah, the $9 million in dead cap plus what you'd be paying. Like, you already gave Lloyd Cushenberry the richest contract for a center in history, right? When you signed him, I guess Linderbaum probably gets that too. So you'd have to spend a lot of money. 615-737-1025. Again, your chance to talk to TD here. 6820. Good question here. How much say do you think Robert Saleh will have in the draft process?
That is a good question. I think he's going to have a lot of influence on it, and I think he has to, because you got a team that's gone from years, like over a decade of 3-4 looks, to now going 4-3. Now you do have hybrid guys that could do that, and of course you're running a lot of sub package.
Yeah,
you're going to go 4-2-5. You may even go 3 down linemen at times with the super sub package, and dime, etc. But I think when you have a new coach coming in, and as monumental as this hire is, you want to make sure you allow him to bring guys of his flavor in.
Right.
Those
Yeah.
fast and violent guys, they need to be Titans, right? And so you look at your David Bailey's, your Vero Reese's, but even like down the line, you got to look at some of those other Harold Perkins from LSU.
Yeah.
Those types of players to help influx that mindset, that attitude. And I know the question was about the draft, but I think free agent wise, he needs to be able to have a huge impact too, because he knows guys, who have the same mindset and have that energy, that vibe that he wants. And it's something that he's trying to filter into the locker room, right? Because you look at Vrabel, right? Obviously Vrabel, Saleh, two different guys. They had 31 new players on the Patriots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it wasn't a coincidence. It's like Jack Gibbons, Otis Reese, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Robert Spillane,
Yep.
all these types of guys who are Vrabel guys that got put into the scheme.
Yeah, and we heard specifically from Brian Daboll and Gus Bradley yesterday saying that they've been having meetings with Mike Borgonzi, meetings with scouts, showing them tape of this is what we want our cornerbacks to play like. This is what we want from our wide receivers. So you can tell that the coaching staff, at the very least, is having some say in the types of players that the front office is going to go after this offseason. So good question there from 6820. We got more. So it seems like every other week we have to extend Talk to TD. We'll do that here. We've still got some questions on the text line. Last call if you want to get anything in for TD, 615-737-1025. We will do one more segment of Talk to TD on the other side. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly. Next man up here on 1025 The Game.
I'm not internationally known.
Next
but
man
I'm
up,
known to rock
102.5 The
microphone.
Game.
What? Yeah.
This might be your best work yet today, Parker.
Yeah. That Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. They used to have a part that, and Easy Rock, he'd do the dance. He'd be like this. And he lift his leg up.
Man, if you're watching the live stream, you're in for a treat.
The people on the listening on the radio in their cars and the people watching the stream are
man.
having completely different
Yeah.
experiences right now.
That used to be you got rock to that, man. That was 1988 right there. 1988, man. So you took me to 87, to 80. I was 12 years old, man.
We're going to
12 years
89
old.
next.
Yeah,
Rocking
there you
this.
go. He's just working his way through the years.
Oh, shoot. 89. So you must be about to bring out some PE, some Public Enemy. We'll see what happens.
No spoilers.
But you see what music does, man? You see what music could do?
This is the beauty of TD Thursdays.
Man.
We play great music and we talk a lot of football.
Talk a lot of football. Talk shop.
We extended talk to TD here. So if you have any questions for TD, we'll try and get to all of them here by the end of the segment. But TD, you brought something up during the break about where the Titans possibly could have and maybe should have gone with the way they formatted their offensive coaching staff.
Yeah, you asked me about a coach that I have maybe a question about,
right?
With Shea Tierney, and that's no offense to Shea Tierney. I just don't know about him.
Yeah,
and I believe that he's the guy that they kind of look at to say, hey, you're the successor. Greg Lewis is on the staff, by the way. Just saying, he spent a lot of time with Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, et cetera. And one of the guys that he was with in Baltimore was T. Martin.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at T. Martin and you look at his career, obviously Tennessee, Knoxville's finest, they got a daggone street named after him. He was Lamar Jackson's quarterback's coach, but he also worked with the receivers before Greg Lewis got there.
Yeah.
And again, Lamar Jackson's quarterback coach, you saw Lamar really elevate his game. He had one of the best seasons ever by a quarterback a couple years ago. I am amazed that T. Martin is unemployed right now.
Yeah.
To me, he would have been the perfect QB coach for Cam Ward because, again, there's a similarity as far as style of play.
Yeah.
He played in the league, albeit not a long time, but he spent time in the league. He's worked with a really good quarterback in Lamar Jackson and helped him improve. He would be perfect for Cam Ward. And also, and this is something I remember talking to some of the people on the Titan staff before about with Cam Ward and a backup quarterback. There's value in culture, right?
Yeah.
And being able to relate and know. Brian Dable, he talked about seeing the game through the lens of the quarterback.
Yep.
You also, because this is a relationship-based business, if you could see life through the lens of the man, that's only going to help you see it through the lens of the quarterback.
Right.
And I think T. Martin would have been perfect for that. But that's also why you'll hear me pounding the table for Jameis Winston.
I was about to
say
being
the backup quarterback, because he's a degree
right now
of having lived it in Jameis's case and just having gone through. I'm trying to think how to not get too. There's a stigma, a struggle of fraternity that comes with being a black quarterback. And I think T. Martin, having done that in college as well as in the league, I think that would really be a good thing for Cam Ward. And again, like, I'm not saying, hey, Shea Tierney, you don't deserve the job, because you deserve the job. You've worked with Dable in multiple spots. I understand it's a relationship business, and Dable went with what he knows. I just wish T. Martin would have gotten an opportunity.
Yeah, and that's fair, and totally understand the idea of, like, T. Martin gone through similar experiences as Cam Ward. Obviously wasn't number one pick and wasn't the quite the NFL quarterback as he was in college. But I agree, Jameis Winston coming in, that's a guy who has been the number one pick before and has all that weight on his shoulders. I think Cam Ward might be able to learn a lot from him. even with some of the goofiness that comes with Jameis Winston as well.
No doubt. A lot of goofing.
Looking back at the text line here, a couple more questions. This one, we've touched on it a little bit, but Belvis from Houston Texan, and I guess just in general, TD, how would you attack this offseason to make the Titans relevant again?
Well, I'm getting impact pass rusher at 4. I think really it's just, the bottom line is just I would add players that could change games.
Yeah.
And I think in the first 2 picks, you could do that. In free agency, you could do that. So there's potential to add 3 guys that are game changers, right? And I think when you look at the second round, depending on how everything falls, you can still add a game-changing receiver at the second round. But or cornerback, because you look at, like Ohio State, they even got David Igbeson, or I forget how to pronounce his name. He's one that you could go for that I think is a solid cover corner.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things. So bottom line, I'm adding 3 impact players at a minimum, you know what I mean, game changers, and then continuing to stock the roster.
Corey Curtis texted in on my personal text line. He asks, you both work with Corey Curtis. Is he as awesome as he seems?
He's all right.
Corey's fun to have.
I've worked with better.
Yeah, I've worked with better. You know that Julian Minimison?
Yeah.
I like him a little bit better than Corey, but he's kind of like his understudy. But he's not Corey. I'm kidding, man.
We love Corey.
I enjoy. We've been working together. I've worked with Corey now for 7 years.
Yeah,
7 years. Yep.
Yeah, Corey said have to ask the important questions during Talk to TD.
Yeah.
I wanted to get to this coming up, and I think we've hit most of the big questions on the text line. So appreciate everybody texting and calling during Talk to TD. Always great stuff from all of you. There's been a discussion this week, TD, and I wanted to get your thoughts specifically on this because I feel like you have a good feel of how the Titans can build this roster and what might be possible, what's realistic. There's been a discussion, and I'm not advocating for it, but I think it is something the Titans could at least kick the tires on. The Dolphins trying to get rid of Tua Tagovailoa. And we saw the precedent set for this with Brock Osweiler back in 2017 of basically a team trading a pick to get off of a bad contract. Could you see the Titans being interested in making that move, trading for Tua, taking on some of his contract in order to get another top 100 pick or multiple top 100 picks?
That some part is really the key, because you bring up Osweiler. I think that deal was that cost him like 17 million.
Yeah, it was 16 million is that they had to take on. They got a second and a sixth for a fourth. And Brock Osweiler was sent along with that second.
Two is what, 43 million?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Close to 45, I think, is a good ballpark.
They got probably like, once the cap elevate, like 120 million?
Yeah, once you cut Snead, once you make a couple other moves, you'll probably have close to 120.
Then you're going to have to consider those moves of like saving the 7 million by cutting Pollard, the 13 million. It would have to be a first. Like, I need a number one.
That's what me and Corey kind of came to yesterday, is like a second round pick isn't worth it. A second and more, maybe. Like if you got a second and a third, or you think it has to be a one.
$43 million.
Yeah,
that's a third. That once you make moves, that's a third of your cap space.
See, the way I thought about it in terms of your cap space this year, I don't think eating that money affects your ability to spend in free agency all that much. You have so much cap flexibility that you allow yourself, you can do both. If this was a decision the Titans tried to make, I do agree on the skepticism of this, of you have guys you're going to have to extend coming up.
Yeah.
Like there's money. Peter Skoronski is going to have to get extended soon. Jeffrey Simmons going to have to be extended soon. You hope J.C. Latham and Cam Ward will get extensions in the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to hamstring your future just for the idea of like, oh, we could, buy ourselves a pick.
And here's the thing. I think this offseason is the time to extend those guys, because you're not going to be facing another extension for a couple of years.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to me, I do that. But I mean, Tua's cap, his dead cap next year is 31.8.
Yeah. So I guess the idea would be you eat the 45 this year and then you cut him next year for 31. So it would affect your cap for 2 years. But if you got the 11th overall pick from it and you could end up taking Ruben Bain and Mekhi Lemon or something like that, like that's something that would at least have to be entertained if you could get the right terms in that deal.
Yeah. Well, look, it has to be the number one pick. That has to be a part of the equation. Otherwise, you know what? You ever see the meme where the guy, he has the flip phone and he hangs it up and he puts it in his pocket, like kind of like zestily? That would be me. I'd be like,
See,
put it right in my pocket to make up a word, zestily.
and that's I don't think it's realistic.
Mhm.
This was an idea floated out there, I believe, by Mike Harmon online. Was just like, hey, the Titans have all this cap flexibility. If anybody needs an extra first round, second round pick, it's probably the Titans right now. Could you make that move? I don't think it's realistic, but I think it is something that at the very least you could entertain if you could get the right terms for it. My thought is, I think the Dolphins would rather just eat the 99 million this year and keep their first round pick. Like if it came to that, I think if they were given the choice of giving up number 11 and eating $99 million in the cap space, I think they just eat it because they're going to be horrible this year anyway.
Could you imagine somebody want you to go so bad? They're like, hey, man,
We are going to
take
pay
this
you $100 million to go away.
Yeah, what? Hey, you could dislike me all you want. Shoot, you give me 99,000. Deuces. 9,900. Chase, if you're listening, Chase.
I'll leave for
Just kidding.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We can keep this conversation going. There's some thoughts on the text line. Also, Caleb reminds me, there was a development yesterday with a free agent that I wanted to ask TD about. So we'll talk about that coming up next as well. We'll wrap up hour number 2, 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, Jake Lyman, Turron,
He's got me
Davenport,
ready to
Parker
start
Kelly.
marching.
Is this 89? Did Parker?
This is 1989.
There we go.
It starts 1989 is the number. This is from Do the Right Thing. I'll never forget. I'll never forget seeing that movie. I remember I went to Valley Streams in Queens. They had that was the first movie I ever went to where they had security there.
Really?
Because Do the Right Thing was such a polarizing movie that they had to. Because I remember sitting in there and I went out like I wanted to hurt somebody, man. Because there was a dude in the movie named it was about life in Brooklyn, and
Gotcha.
At that time there was a lot of racial tension.
Yeah.
Right. You know, like Italians and blacks. It was oil and water. You know what I mean? And there was a pizza shop called Sal's in Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy, and in the movie, right? And I remember one of the characters, Radio Raheem, used to always carry a radio around, and there was an incident, and the police came, and they choked Radio Raheem out, and everybody, you could hear everybody in the theater like mad, but that was the theme song to that movie. And so it took me right to that. And Public Enemy, they used to have it was Professor Griff and the S1Ws, and they were kind of like Black Panthers, like that type of crew,
yeah,
so to speak. And in that video, they're marching, and it's that was what music. And I was just telling my girl last night because she sent me something that Kendrick, that Chance the Rapper, he was talking about something political in his songs, and I was like That's what I'm talking about. Like back in the day, music used to teach you, and used to give you an element of pride. And I mentioned Public Enemy, and here it is. Parker plays it at 10:46, and I'm sitting here with all types of energy going through my body because that music right there, that Fight the Power, that Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet. Oh man,
Parker's crushed it this
music,
hour.
Dope music.
This hour, 3 for 3 from Parker
has
been it's been great. TD, we're having the conversation about Tua Tagovailoa. And again, I think this is a far-fetched idea of the Titans trading for him to buy a pick.
Mm-hmm.
Justin from Greenbrier says if the Titans are going to even consider this, Tua would need to take a pay cut or the Dolphins would need to eat some of that salary. I do agree that if this was going to happen, it probably ends up the Dolphins would take on some of it. That way they wouldn't have to give up as high of a pick.
Right.
Like there would be some sort of compromise in there. Again, unrealistic, but if anybody is in position to do it, it's the Titans. And the Titans need more draft capital at the top of the draft. They don't have enough. And this is a way to do it without having to give up draft capital or one of your current players. It's an idea. Probably not going to happen, but we're in that part of the offseason in between the Super Bowl and free agency where all of these conspiracy theories can be thrown out there.
Yeah, and that's really this is the time that the rumor mill and just as some people refer to the lies and the spies, and I think that's what happens with this. There's so many the off season, right? It's list time.
It's list season.
List out and you put. You throw
50.
ideas out and all the things like that. And that's evidently it's a good one because look, we're talking about it.
Right. I think, again, far-fetched, but maybe not the worst idea in the world. And speaking of list season, we're going to talk about a list coming up at 11 o'clock, an off-season list. But Caleb texted and reminded me, I did want to get to this today. And it's funny. He texts in about Wyatt Teller. And I'm a big Wyatt Teller fan. He's a Hokie. But
I remember him coming out. He was a guy.
Yeah, he was a 5th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Buffalo. Things didn't really work out there, and then turned into an all-pro level player in Cleveland a couple years ago
with
Bill Callahan. And yes, so he is going to hit free agency. He released a statement yesterday saying he will not be returning to Cleveland. Maybe not a great look for the Browns now that 2 players have said publicly we don't want to come back. But Wyatt Teller going to be out there. And initially, I was going to lead you into, would he be an option to replace Kevin Zeitler at right guard? But then I see this during the break from Daniel Rotman, and it is 2025 pressure rate among right guards. Guess who had the lowest allowed pressure rate in the entire NFL last year?
Teller.
Kevin Zeitler.
Kevin Zeitler.
So I guess I can pose it this way for you. Given the option between bringing back Kevin Zeitler or signing a guy like Wyatt Teller, what would you choose?
I think Zeitler would be less expensive. And Zeitler's been solid, but you had the injury stuff with it. And it's just crazy that an Iron Man like Zeitler ended up missing games the way he did. So if I had to choose between the two, it would be Zeitler. But I don't see anything wrong with Jackson Slater becoming. Now you got another young player on there. He was a 5th round pick. But if you go back, like this dude was very, very decorated in college. Like he was a one of the FCS, like one of their top players.
That was one of those picks that felt like it was universally praised when it was made among draft analysts, Titans fans of like, oh man, you just might have drafted a 10-year starting guard late in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And that's high expectations for a guy picked in the 5th round, late 5th round.
I think it was picked 167.
So it's a lot of expectations, and he may not live up to that. But we're going to learn a lot about how the Titans feel about Jackson Slater by what they do in March, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they go bring back Kevin Zeitler or they bring in a Wyatt Teller or somebody of that ilk, it's going to say, all right, Jackson Slater's probably not ready to be your starting right guard. If they maybe just bring in some competition, some depth, I think it shows you that they believe Slater is going to be the guy at right guard in week 1.
Yeah, I think that really is the case. And that's interesting. It just hit me. Jackson Slater played for my homie Brendan Marion at Sac State. I didn't even make that correlation as far as the years, and I just looked. I said, "Wait a minute," and he did. But so I'm at to call Brendan.
Yeah, that's a good call
about that. But you look Zeitler. How old is Wyatt Teller going to be? He's
31. I want to say. Let's see. Let's see if he has a market value on Spot Track. Wyatt Teller. He is going to be, so he is 31. He turns 32 in November. His market value is $10 million. They say 3 years, $30 million.
That's not bad.
For a starting right guard. If you think he's better than Kevin Zeitler and Jackson Slater, you don't believe is going to be the future at right guard, then I wouldn't hate it. Maybe it's my hokey bias showing.
I wouldn't hate it either at that cost. But there's just something for me, there's something to having a younger, you got young Skoronski, you got young JC Latham, you got
You've got they're kind of the Band-Aids at left tackle and center. Like Cushenberry and Moore aren't going to be your long-term solutions there, but they give you the flexibility to not have to rush in finding their replacements.
The Jackson Slater one is interesting. He played well in camp. I remember week 2 was when he really started to. Yeah, you're watching him in one-on-ones. You're like, oh, he's taking on T'Vondre Sweat's bull rush like that. Okay. And then you see him later in the season, he got some playing time.
He played most of that Jaguars game at the end.
And I think Borgonzi and the crew, they got to really look at that. And that's a tough projection because, again, he was a very good player, at his level at Sac State. Yeah, he was at the Senior Bowl, and he had a solid outing there. I wouldn't be opposed, honestly. If it were up to me, I'm going to have
roll
him
with Jackson Slater.
Yeah. And then I you know what I do? I wonder if Tyree Phillips is a free agent.
Maybe he's your swing tackle, backup guard kind of guy.
Yeah, he's your insurance case.
Right.
That's actually, one of Jeffrey Simmons, his best friends.
Right. I have seen that they work out together. Yeah. So that could be interesting. And how about Jackson Slater's alma mater, Sacramento State, the newest member of the Mid-American Conference, the MAC.
The MAC
gonna get some Wednesday night MAC football between UMass and Sacramento State starting next year. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We've got one more hour with TD. We'll talk some free agency on the other side. And again, Jack Allingham, Wentantana from Vanderbilt women's basketball going to join us at the end of the show. It's an off week for Vanderbilt. They're getting ready for a big nationally televised game on Sunday against Kentucky. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly. Hour number 3 coming up here on Next Man Up, 1025 The Game. Man Up 102.5, The Game. Final hour on your TD Thursday. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker, Kelly. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Continuing some Titans talk here in hour number 3. And again, Jack Alingam Wenentanda from Vanderbilt Women's Basketball is going to join us at the very end of the show at 11:45. So excited for that. But TD, let's talk free agency. The top 50 free agents were released by ESPN this week, and with an ideal fit for all of them. The Titans were linked to 2 of them. That was Alec Pierce, who is the 6th-ranked free agent in the class, and then Boye Mafe, who is number 30, the pass rusher from Seattle. I think Justin from Greenbrier kind of takes us where I wanted to go here. He texts in, Titans fans hear about the amount of cap space and get delusions of all these big moves.
Mhm.
Where should the Titans focus their free agency money? Where should they avoid spending? How do you see the Titans attacking this free agent market? And do you think maybe Alec Pierce could be that big name that they go after?
He could be. Wan'Dale Robinson could also, you know what I mean? When you look at the receiver position. Hey, you mentioned it last week, right? They could have another. They could decide they want to sign the Colts, that is. They could decide they want to sign Pierce, and Michael Pittman becomes available. To me, when I look at this, I think there are less Alec Pierces in the league than Michael Pittmans, right? Michael Pittman is one of those sturdy, mid-range, jump ball, 80-20, not 50-50, 80-20 type receivers that you want. You want them, but it's like 90-10 with Alec Pierce. Like, that joker is 6'3" with a 40-inch vertical, and he's clocking in the 4.3, 4.4 range.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he has 21 yards per catch. That's something that the Colts might not want to give up. And we know Daniel Jones, he likes to be the mad bomber. He likes to throw the ball down the field. So I say all that to say Michael Pittman could end up being the one. But to me, if I'm the Titans, I'm signing a lot. Listen, I will pay above market to bring Alontae Taylor here.
Yep.
Why? Because he fits what this defense wants to do. He could play zone, he could play man, but he's very good at jumping routes. He's feisty, he's aggressive, he's fast and violent.
Yeah.
Right? But then, because he's a 4-3 guy too. But then you know what I'm doing? I'm going to turn around and I'm going to get another starter, and I'm signing Greg Newsome too. I'm getting both of them. But we're going to influx DAWG into that secondary, specifically that cornerback room. I'm rolling with those 2. Marcus Harris is my nickel, and let's go.
I like it. I think the Titans are going to be aggressive in free agency. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to do
overspend.
Right. I think it's going to be I'm trying reasonably aggressive, I guess, is a good way to put it. Like, I think Mike Borgonzi knows that this is an opportunity to get this roster back to being competitive with all of this cap space. You can bring in upgraded players at a lot of different positions with how much money you have, but that also doesn't mean you're reckless with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has to be able to find the right fits. I love Alontae Taylor. That showing he had here in Nashville with the Saints, I think, was enough to sell a lot of Titans fans on, hey, he'd be a really good fit here. I like Greg Newsome too. I do think wide receiver they could go a lot of different directions this offseason. And Alec Pierce, I wouldn't say I'm 100% sold on it, just because I think he's going to cost so much. The big money on Alec Pierce, I think, may come back to bite you in a couple of years when you do have to extend some of these younger guys. And it's like, man, wish we hadn't spent $30 million on Alec Pierce. Now, Alec Pierce, I think, would help this team. He would make this team better for sure. But he's not going to be worth whatever contract he's going to get in free agency. Like, I think he is going to get one of those Christian Kirk Jaguars type of deals where it gets tweeted by, we were just talking about Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport. Schefter puts out there, Alec Pierce has signed with the Tennessee Titans for 4 years and $130 million. And you're like, oh my goodness, Alec Pierce just got wide receiver 1 money.
Mm-hmm.
Is he worth that? Probably not. I know you have to overpay in free agency. I don't know how sustainable the way he plays is. Is that worth $30+ million?
Exactly. And this is the thing that I become afraid of, right? I'm old enough to remember Alvin Harper leaving the Cowboys and going to the Bucks. I'm old enough to remember Peerless Price leaving the Bills and going to the Falcons. Yikes, both Tennessee receivers. Sorry, Vols fans. But I'm old enough to remember that, right? Where these guys were high-end number 2s, and they went to another team, big deal, and were a number 1, and it worked so good.
Gabe Davis.
You know what I mean? Gabe Davis is another example. So it's like you got to be wary. And I'm not saying Alec Pierce is going to be that, but you just have to be wary. Like, it's so much more of a projection when you take a number 2 from another team, make him your number 1. How will he react to that, right? Because you know darn well if he comes here, that bracket coverage over top, you know what I mean? You're going to see that. So, okay, if you sign Alec Pierce, you know you're going to see a lot of too high safety. You better have a slot receiver that can operate underneath, or Gunnar Helm that can operate underneath.
Right.
And then you also better have a running game, because you're going to get opportunities to run, because that box is not going to be full, because they're always going to, you know, you're not going to drop the safety down as much. So those are all things you got to consider. That's a tough one for me. I really like Alec Pierce, as we've talked about, but I don't know about giving him number 1 receiver money.
Yeah, it is funny. You do see it a lot with these guys who they're the number 2 wide receivers. They hit free agency or they're made available, and everybody's like, oh, now that he's the number 1 option, he's going to go off. And it's like, no, now that he's the number 1 option, he's getting all the defense's attention.
Yep.
The Steelers have made a living off of that for years. I heard D-Mace bring up Mike Wallace a couple of days ago. Like, Mike Wallace was the number 2 behind Hines Ward there, and when he left, he wasn't quite as good. Martavis Bryant, I know he had some off the field stuff and got suspended, but same thing. Everybody loved him as a number 2. He was never a number 1. Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, like all those guys, it's like when they were the number 2s, you looked at him and you said, oh, they could thrive as a number 1 somewhere else. And it just doesn't always work like that.
I remember talking to Mike Wallace because he signed with the Eagles.
Right.
I loved him when he was with the Steelers.
He was so fun to watch.
So I couldn't wait to meet him when he signed. So, you know, I pulled him aside. We're talking. That dude hated Ryan Tannehill, man. Like, he hated Ryan Tannehill. And he was like, that's the reason why I couldn't get off, because he sucked.
So
he hated
funny.
Tannehill, man. I remember that. You know, it's crazy. But you're right, though. You'll see a lot of times these receivers go elsewhere. Just a lot of players, period. But, I mean, like, receiver – it's such a dependent position, right? And that's one where the variables could really change from one team to another. They are every position, but especially that one. And if it's not the right situation, man, like it's a bad look.
How about Ryan Tannehill, top 100 quarterback of all time, according to Bleacher Report? Did you see that the other day?
Huh?
They had him listed as the 99th best quarterback of all time. It's actually not as far-fetched when you actually dig into the numbers. Like, he is top 40 in passing yards all time. He's top 45 in passing touchdowns. AFC Championship game appearance. Like, he's
probably thrown for more passing yards than Troy Aikman, right? I wouldn't be surprised.
See.
But that's a case of Booger McFarland's fabulous saying.
Yeah. It's like a bikini.
Stats are like bikinis. They show a lot, but not everything.
Yes, he does. Ryan Tannehill, 34,881. That is 38th all time. Troy Aikman, 32,942.
See what I'm saying?
Ryan Tannehill has more passing yards than Steve McNair, Kurt Warner, Troy Aikman, Steve Young, Phil Simms, Tony Romo. So is
he better than Steve Young? No.
See,
that's the thing. Like, stats, they could.
No, I know.
Yeah, they could be.
Like 99 is a higher number than you think. When you think of how many quarterbacks there are over the last 50 years, plus who have played 8 to 10 seasons, because I think you got to play close to a decade to be considered for top 100. Tannehill, I can see the argument for it.
I don't see it. And listen, I like Tannehill, man. I like Tannehill a lot. Don't get it twisted, but woo.
Ryan Tannehill,
99th
best quarterback in NFL history, according to Bleacher Report.
Bleacher Report, what are you doing?
615-737-1025. You can text or call our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. When we come back, we'll keep talking wide receivers, possible trade candidates for the Titans to go out and get. There's one that I know Turron will probably be on board with. We'll talk about it coming up next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly. I feel like we get this one a decent amount from Parker. It's a good one.
Yeah, darn right. This that player music. He said, as soon as you buy that wine, I sneak up from behind, asking what your interests are, who you be with, what numbers to dial, what makes you to smile. Yo, come on, man. B.I.G. one of the best. He's one of the best lyricists ever.
We can get into that conversation again. That was
because you know what I mean. They're going to disrespect some legends, and
Yeah, we got so many texts about that when that was months ago.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the Titans wide receiver options and free agency, draft, the two main places you're going to look for the Titans to upgrade in that room. How about a trade though, TD? Two guys, young guys, haven't quite panned out in their first couple years in the league. Former second-round picks, maybe needing a change of scenery. Keon Coleman, Xavier Legette. Thoughts on the Titans maybe sending a late-round pick to try and get one of those guys over here?
Yeah, I would love for Keon Coleman to come because I would have the inside on him. I actually got to spend a few days at the combine with him and did a story, like behind the scenes story. It was one of my favorite stories I've ever done. But and shout out Paul D. Russell, you know what I mean? His agent. You know I like Legette.
I was about to say that was the one that I was like, I think TD would love to get Legette in here.
But I tell you one thing, I'm not like the Panthers media. You're not gonna bring Raccoon in and have me try it. I'm not eating that mess. You know what I mean? But I would love to have the opportunity to work with him and see him in his I think he would be good in his offense too. You know, he's a classic, catch and run guy. He's one of the ones that, I felt coming out, like his action and just his body movement. Watching him at South Carolina, it reminded me a lot of AJ Brown, and that was a thought that I shared with both of their agent, Tory Dandy. You know what I mean? Yeah, either one of them, that would be a really good because you get potential. It's very interesting that you bring up Keon Coleman in the trade because actually during locker room cleanout, one of the Titans DBs, we were talking about him, and I still don't remember how the conversation came up, but we were talking about Keon Coleman during locker cleanout, and that would be a good move because that back shoulder, like he's treacherous on that back shoulder, so. And it looks like he's on the out from the Bills, so I don't think it would take much. I know the previous, I know Rand was very high on Keon Coleman, but it just didn't work out to where they were able to get him.
Yeah, I think both those guys are just buy low opportunities. Of neither of them have quite lived up to their billing in the draft. I think you could get them like a fifth for either of them. I think would be enough to pry them away. And it's another young piece that you can bring in and try and develop into a starting level wide receiver. And if you go into next year with a room draft pick this year, maybe a veteran free agent signing, let's say Legette, DK, Iamaner, Restrepo, like I think that's or Bryce Oliver, like that's a group that I feel like could be a solid start to this wide receiver group for the Titans.
And I think if you make that move, I think you could afford to part ways with a Ridley.
Yes.
And that's not to say that Legette or Coleman are on Ridley's level, but they're younger receivers that could occupy a premium spot in the rotation.
Yep.
They're different players. The three of them are different players. But as far as having the veteran, so to speak, like really obviously is the biggest veteran, but long story short, that could facilitate that $13 million cut.
Yeah, I would. I'd like Legette here. Get him riding a horse up and down Broadway or something like that.
Could you imagine that? And just the talking.
Yeah, he'd fit in. I mean,
I would mess with him because that's
staying in the South.
I remember in Philly, Jay Ajayi, right? I would always get him to. I'd be like, "What's your running back coach's name?" And he'd be like, "Coach Douche." And I would just crack up. I'd be like, "What's his name?" Douche. It used to be so funny, man. Like, I can't help it, man.
Jay Ajayi,
one of a fool. So I would get Legette just to talk, man.
Yeah,
just to get him this because he talked like Boomhauser in that commercial, King of the Hill.
It'd be entertaining, to say the least.
Yeah,
it may not. He may not end up being a good player, but it'd be entertaining. Another name possibly out there for trades, and this one more established. How about DJ Moore? Do you think that could be a guy the Titans go out and get? I don't think it would cost you a ton with that contract. And it wouldn't be like if you're looking for established wide receivers, you're not in the position to go out and trade multiple picks for let's say Justin Jefferson's out there.
Man,
But
you see where I sit up in the seat?
DJ Moore, I would love to get
DJ Moore, one of
here.
my favorite receivers. I love sturdy, strong receivers that get you yards after catch. That's a yak monster right there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at his pro day. Crazy story. Deshaun Jackson football camp. We used to do that in North Philly a long time ago. DJ Moore went through that camp.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Man, I would definitely be all for that. But would the Bears really trade him? Like
I just wonder if maybe they want to open up some cap space for other areas of the roster. When you spent a first-round pick on Luther Burden, you spent a first-round pick on Roma Dunze, second-round pick on Luther Burden. You've got some young guys in there. Maybe he's the odd man out. I don't know if they'll make that deal, but that's a guy I would definitely want the Titans to at least look into.
You know, what would you give up a third? I'll give up a third for him easily.
Yeah, honestly, I think I would.
DJ is how I think is what 28, I think it is 27. Hold on, let's see how old he is. 28.
Moore.
He's 28. So he'll be 29 in April.
He's 28 and he still has 4 more years on his contract. So like you're paying him $28 million a year. That's a lot of money. But that probably means you wouldn't have. I don't think you'd have to give up a third. Maybe a fourth would do it. Yeah. You've got the first pick in the 4th round. That's straight up for DJ Moore.
Or one of your abundance. So what they got 3 or 4 4th round. I would do that in a heartbeat, honestly, because I would do it. Because you figure you're going to get a good 2 or 3 more years out of him.
Right.
And that's another one. You want to, like, Vrabel, he always used the term, and I love the term, called free yards, right? And he's one of those guys, you throw a 5-yard pass to, he's going to catch it. And, and then you look at the way he came up clutch for the Bears so many times. He and Caleb Williams, they connected really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I would do.
I don't know if they'll make that trade, if the Bears will look to trade him, but he has been mentioned as someone who could be out there. Very interesting.
That would be a good.
The other wide receiver who has been floated around in trade discussions, not going to come back here, but A.J. Brown. In ESPN, Jeremy Fowler, along with Dan Graziano and others, put out an article of 4 potential landing spots for A.J. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland, Buffalo. That would be kind of scary. Josh Allen, A.J. Brown. Baltimore, he would reunite with Derrick Henry. And then New England, which, of course, is the one that I think we all are keeping an eye on, reuniting him with Mike Vrabel.
Well, he grew up a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
He told me, because remember, they drafted N'Keal Harry 32nd in that draft.
Right. They did.
He said it was a double pain for him because he wanted to be a first-round pick.
Right. Yeah, he said he cried. Yeah.
He went in the closet and cried.
Yeah.
Left the party, went upstairs. And he called DK, and they cried together.
Yeah,
DK Metcalf,
because DK was here in Nashville, and he ended up leaving after that and got drafted at the end of the 2nd round. A couple of thoughts on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 8586 says raccoon is dang good. So
hey, it could be dang good to you. I will never know. Fish, cows, chicken. That's it.
You're sticking to it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I took my lady. We went to they don't pay me, so I'm not gonna mention their name.
A restaurant.
It's a Brazilian steakhouse.
Oh, gotcha.
And they came out with the lamb chops, and they're like, "Hey," I said, "Nope." She said, "Are you crazy?" I said, "Nope." Beef, poultry, fish. That's it.
See, I gotta say, when I go to a restaurant like that, Brazilian steakhouse, my coaster is green, and it doesn't stop until I'm done eating.
My coaster's green, but they bring the swine over to me. They bring the lamb chops over to me. I ain't doing it. You know what I mean?
Justin from Greenbrier says, can you imagine the entertainment value of Xavier Legette and Jameis Winston in the Titans locker room?
Oh, my God.
That would
the job would instantly become that much more. And like as if it's not fun already.
Yeah.
You would
love talking to those two guys every single day, I'm sure.
I would love for their lockers to be next to each other, too.
That would be hilarious. Titans with lots of options for wide receivers this year. And I don't know which way Mike Borgonzi wants to go. Is it big free agent? Is it an early draft pick? Is it a trade? I don't know. but the Titans certainly have to add some weapons for Cam Ward this offseason. We'll see how Borgonzi and the Titans front office elects to go about it. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We've got a couple more segments on the show. Jack Alangam and Tanda from Vandy Women's Basketball going to join us at 11:45. Looking forward to that. We'll take a quick break. Be right back. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly. Is this a flashlight moment here for us?
Flashlight moment. Let me get it working. Here we go.
I feel like this is the trend at 11:30 is we get the slow songs here from Parker.
The Keisha Cole one specifically.
Parker's done a great job today. This has been an all-timer from Parker, and we know what's coming at 11:45.
Do we think Jack Alanga's ready for that?
I hope so.
She better be
I hope
ready.
so. It's an off week for Vandy, so we're getting Jackalenga on Thursday and finally getting a player on for TD. So excited for that. She'll join us in a little over 10 minutes. We'll talk some Vandy women's basketball this segment, but did want to get to a couple of things. TD from Nashville on the text line. Not this TD from Nashville, another TD from Nashville.
Okay.
Says, listening to the wide receiver discussion, and I may have missed it, is there any way Van Jefferson is still on the team next year? I never hear his name mentioned in wide receiver conversations. That is a good question. I think we all kind of forget about Van.
Yeah, good question. I think he's a solid depth piece. It's definitely possible, but I look at it this way. It comes down to Van Jefferson or Bryce Oliver. Really. That's
I'd agree with that.
And it's unfortunate because both of these guys are great young men. They're contributors. When asked to be in the pass game, but more on the special team.
Yeah.
You know, Van has certain props to Van Jefferson as a veteran coming in here last year. A veteran, I will emphasize a veteran, and saying, hey, you know what? I'll play special teams. And doing it. Because I remember a couple of times like, wait, is that that's number 11 on as the gunner? Oh,
yeah.
Shoot. Yeah, all right. Shout out Van Jefferson for that. You know, but I think end of the day, Oliver is less expensive.
Yep.
There's upside. And he was one of the best special teams players when he was healthy. So.
Right. You're trying to get younger and cheaper. And back end of your wide receiver room, you do want somebody who is good on special teams. Bryce Oliver's a really good gunner. So yeah. I would expect it's probably Oliver over Jefferson. I don't see a scenario where both those guys are around next year. Something that I meant to talk about earlier on in the show, TD, do you see this, that the Bears are continuing their pursuit of a new stadium in Indiana?
I just don't get it. Like, why?
They put out a statement today, and I'll read some of it for you. The passage of SB 27 would mark the most meaningful step forward in our stadium planning efforts to date. We are committed to finishing the remaining site-specific necessary due diligence to support our vision to build a world-class stadium near the Wolf Lake area in Hammond, Indiana.
Just terrible.
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean,
that's worse than the Santa Clara 49ers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just terrible. Don't do that.
That's why I struggle with when we talk about a baseball team coming to Nashville. It's like a lot of the conversations are, well, they'd have to go outside the city somewhere. And I'm like, that ruins what would make baseball in Nashville so great is that summer weekends in Nashville, it's packed. And guess what? If you had a walkable MLB stadium, everybody would go.
Everybody would. But where would you put it?
That I don't know.
Well, you see, they had the development. They were finally able. Someone was able to get a hold of the scrapyard land over there.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, there's like I think they said like 20+ story buildings that are going to go over there. But that would have been like probably the best area.
Right.
I would hate to see the sounds get displaced. So, and where the heck would they have parking?
Right. It would be a mess. My thought would have been, and I think the timing on it wouldn't work anymore with the new stadium almost done for the Titans, is if you had a team coming here, you could destroy the old Nissan Stadium and build a baseball stadium in its spot and do like kind of like Philly has all of the stadiums right next
there.
to each other. Yeah. And like Kansas City, it's in a giant parking lot, but like they share a footprint.
I will say this, right? A night where there's a Sixers and Eagles game, or Phillies and Sixers game, or Flyers and whatever.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Really?
And it's
I guess, the traffic along 95 too.
And right. And Broad and Patterson is not downtown. It's, about a 15-minute train ride.
Yeah.
From downtown, but it is treacherous, man. Like I'm talking about, and this is granted on Eagles game day, they have free. You could ride the subway, except you could ride the train for free.
Oh, wow.
And the traffic is still ridiculous. So that just goes to show you like how bad it could be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, like I said, off site from downtown. You know what I mean? I couldn't imagine if you had it right. And that's why, because the Sixers were looking to, like, right around Chinatown, like down in that area. They were looking to build a stadium, but it's just like, where are people going to park?
Right.
Traffic is already dumb. It goes from dumb to even worse with, I don't know.
Joey from Bellevue makes a good point. Detroit has a nice setup too. It's they've got Comerica, Ford Field right next to each other. But I also get what you're saying of, God, what a mess it would be if unnamed Nashville baseball team goes to the World Series or something, and they play a Sunday night World Series game or something on the same day as a Titans home game.
And a I'm gonna say Penguins.
A Preds
and
game,
a Preds game.
yeah. In October, that could be a mess. So again, off topic, but the Bears looks like they're planning on moving their stadium to Indiana, outside of Chicago. We have Jackalanga Wenentanda coming on in just a couple of minutes. Did want to spend a couple of seconds here before we bring her on talking about Vandy women's basketball. Big game coming up on Sunday. You can come out to Memorial Gym, taking on Kentucky's second matchup with the Wildcats. And the first one came down to the wire, 84-83 in Lexington 2 weeks ago. Michaela Blake scored 37 points in that game. So I'm excited for this one. Vandy coming off a loss on Sunday against Georgia.
That was tough, man.
Georgia played really well. And I think it had all the makings of a letdown game. Mm-hmm. It's like you just look and you say, you're coming off back-to-back huge wins over Oklahoma and Texas. And you can see your first bye week in almost 3 months looking you straight in the face. It's like, hey, we get through this game. We get a week to reset. And you ended up losing at the buzzer. It was a tough one, but Vandy still, with everything they want to accomplish out in front of them, they are still the number 5 team in the country, control their own destiny to go get a 1 seed if they want to. You probably have to win out Kentucky, Alabama, Tennessee, and then make a run in the SEC tournament, but still very possible for Vanderbilt to be on the 1 line at the end of the season.
And you know what? Even if they're not on the 1 line, they're still going to be a high-ranking team.
Yeah.
And, I think that's all the more exciting for this program.
Yeah.
Right? And look, the way they've turned things around, it's just amazing how, you add a few play, like what happened. Like you get Aubrey Colvin mixed in with the already existing group, and then you get Tasha Washington in, and obviously Michaela Blake. They've just elevated so much, and it's just fun to watch. So for me, even if they're not the number 1 seed, I don't think it's the end of the world.
No.
I think it's still, this is a team that they could get hot and they can make a run. And I don't care what their seed is, they can make a run.
And if you're a 1 or a 2 seed, it doesn't matter all that much. Like, yes, you play a little bit lower seeds in your first couple of games, but eventually, if you're a 1 seed or you're a 2 seed, you're going to have to play that team you're competing with. Mm-hmm. If it's Texas, if it's Michigan, who Vanderbilt has beat both those teams this year, if it's LSU. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really matter all that much. For Vanderbilt, you're in such a great spot. You're 24-3. Go take care of business the rest of the way and see where it ends up on Selection Sunday. But it's going to be fun. Again, Sunday, it's a 3:00 tip now. They moved it. So 3:00 tip on Sunday against Kentucky. It is now nationally televised on ESPN2. Nice. And of course, you can always listen in with me on 94.9 The Fan. But we are going to speak to Jackalanga Wenentanda on the other side to wrap up the show. Excited about that. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on your Thursday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final segment of the day here on Next Man Up. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on your Thursday morning. And we finish the show by going to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We are now joined by Jackalenga Mwenentanda from the 24-3 fifth-ranked Vanderbilt women's basketball team. Second time that we've had Jackalenga on. Thanks so much for taking some time with us this morning.
Yes, thank you for having me back.
Well, Jackalenga, you get the bye week this week, which I know was probably sorely needed after not really having much time off since SEC play started. What's been the focus this week as you guys prepare for the stretch run of the season?
Yeah, again, coming off of the week we had, just building off of that and also learning from the loss we had versus Georgia and continuing to get a little bit better each day in practice has been the main focus.
You mentioned learning from that loss to Georgia. I know you want to win every game, but there can be a lot that comes from losing that can lead to future successes. What do you think you've been able to take from that loss to Georgia that you can translate to the rest of the regular season and when you get into postseason play?
Yeah, I think the main thing is that the little things matter a lot. We had some uncharacteristic plays that that just wasn't us, and we know we control how we do, and we're the main ones determining how we win. So we've learned from that, and we've improved in practice and acknowledged that that loss, it's not like us, and we'll come back better from that.
Jacqueline, I'm a big fan here. We're supposed to be objective, but I'm a shed that title. I am a Vandy fan, and I'm just curious because seeing the way you guys start and you coming here, joining Sasha Washington and joining obviously Michaela Blakes, Jess Passat, joining them. How did you guys manage, you and Aubrey Colvin? Like, how did you guys manage to be able to just kind of hit the ground running the way that you are? Because basketball is such a team sport. But you guys became a team almost instantly, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, again, it starts in practice. It starts in the preseason. We built a really great foundation with Coach Jenna in the weight room and conditioning. And then as well as on the court, we did a lot of live play and such. And we also have, as a team as a whole, we have people who come off the bench and produce as well. And it's not just us starters who are doing all the work. As you said, it's a team sport, so it really does help being surrounded by such awesome people.
What has it been like for you this season? Where it's like you start off like Vandy's a really good story. It's a program that's building, and then you guys turn into, hey, wait a minute, they're one of the best teams in the country. Like, how has the approach, the way other teams come at you, like how has that changed, or has it at all?
For me personally, as you know, I came from Texas. It's nothing new to me. So that's one thing that I bring to the table that I remind the team every day, these type of situations should not be surprising. It starts again in the preseason, starts in practices. How we practice is essentially how we're going to look when we play. So those are some of the things that are just continuous reminders, like our hard work is paying off essentially. What we've been doing, how we've been preparing, how we've been thinking about the game, how we've been, doing stuff on our own, personal workouts. It's all just coming together.
Jackalenga, you mentioned that you come from Texas, and congratulations, big win over your former team last Thursday. But you talk about the experience that you have. Went to an Elite Eight 2 years ago, a Final Four last year. When you do get to the NCAA tournament, how valuable do you think that experience can be to impart on the rest of your team who maybe hasn't been in those situations before?
Yeah, again, being surrounded by phenomenal teammates who know how to play basketball is such a blessing. So, I mean, not that didn't happen at my previous school, but I just think that's really helpful because I'm able to feed in the confidence that they already have, letting them know they've done the work, they've paid off. Like these are, yes, this is just another game, but it shouldn't be something that's nerve-wracking. It shouldn't be something that's anxious. Like we deserve whatever we've prepared for, essentially. So that's just what I try to do as a teammate, and continuously being positive and uplifting in practices and in games.
Let's have a little fun. You heard the music that came on, right? The dreams
Yes,
and
I
nightmares.
did.
You know how that's the theme music for so many people. Well, what are your top three? You guys are going out to play. You got Kentucky, right?
Yep.
So you before that game,
Mhm.
you come out to shoot around. You got your Beats headphones on. Yeah, NIL. Go ahead, hook her up. NIL. You got the Beats headphones on. Well, what three songs are you playing?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be playing. I've been playing "Finito" by Chief Keef. Yeah, and then also I don't know the song title of the song, and the start of the song is a little bit explicit, but it's something story, I think, by King Von. That's another
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Yeah, some pretty aggressive songs, I know. And then Bulletproof by I don't know who sang Bulletproof, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm sure you guys probably know the artist of that song.
Yeah, we end our Thursday shows with Dreams and Nightmares every single week. So it just so happened that
okay.
became your intro song today as you were coming back.
What did you think of that?
Okay.
What did you think? Was that a good get hype song?
Yeah, I was hoping I was on the right radio show. That was awesome.
She thought she caught a hip hop.
Got the wrong station here. Jackalega, last one for you. A couple big games coming up down the stretch, and of course Kentucky on Sunday. You guys haven't lost at home this season. What's been so special about playing inside Memorial, and what advantage do you think that gives you getting to play in that building?
Well, there's numerous advantages. Again, having a home court feel, having fans there that really support you. This year, I think our turnout has been better than previous years. It's not the best, but it's getting there. And I really do appreciate the people who come out and support us every single night, every single home game. So continuously having that support, and then also being able to get up shots, to practice to practice in that gym that we practice in. And then being able to have a good night's rest and, nutrition, and not even across the streets, right there, Hubert Center. So all those things add up to help us fully prepare for any home game. And I'm really excited.
Jackalega, thanks so much for taking some time. Great stuff as always. And we wish you the best of luck the rest of the season.
Yes, thank y'all for having me on, and y'all have a great day.
You too.
You too. Take care.
Jackalega Wenentanda joining us from Vanderbilt women's basketball. That was awesome.
Thank you,
the Dreams and Nightmares set the tone.
Yeah, it did. And that's the whole objective of music. I gotta look up her playlist. We're gonna see what that's jumping for.
There we go. And we'll have to try and get some more players on with TD as we head towards the postseason, because
smile.
Yeah.
Get the fan out a little bit. I like to be able to do that, man.
No, it was great. It was great. And Jackalega's awesome. He's been a big part of the reason that this team has had so much success. And Vanderbilt looking to finish strong, coming up on Sunday, taking on Kentucky. Alabama at home a week from today, the final home game of the season. And then Tennessee coming up a week from Sunday on the road in Knoxville. Hate that we only get to play Tennessee once in the regular season, but that's just how the schedule works out. So that'll about wrap things up for us today. TD, always a pleasure having you in. I know you're going to be at the Combine next week, so we'll work out the logistics on our TD Thursday for next week, but we will talk to you somehow, some way next week, live from Indianapolis.
Yeah, no doubt. Looking forward to that. I got to figure out how to survive steak week, man.
That's true.
A lot of steak to be consumed, but it's all right. We're gonna work it off.
You were talking about last week. The Combine. It's one of the best events of the year. Don't move it out of Indy. No, NFL.
Do not.
So warning. Tomorrow on the show, Max Hers makes his return on Friday. We didn't have him in last week with the Preds on a break, but the Preds a week away from getting back out on the ice. And man, we've got some good Olympic hockey coming up this weekend. The semifinals coming up tomorrow, the U.S. taking on Slovakia. We'll talk about that with Max, and also what the Predators could look like when they return from the 3-week Olympic break. So he'll join us from 9 to 10. We'll get you ready for the rest of the sports weekend as well. That does it for us. Coming up next, Chase and Big Joe. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.